Muy buenas tardes a todos. Welcome to another episode of the Bitchuation Room podcast. Live stream. I'm here. You're there. We're all back together again after way too long of a break. My God, vacation's hard. It's tough, especially when it's with your mom for some reason. Why would that be stressful? We're all here. Ramona, my cat, is just meowing at me from the sidelines. She's been stuck to me like glue, as Sean DePaul would say, ever since I came back. And it's so good to be back. My God, it's good to be here. We've got such a good show. Journalist Sarah Lazare and good friend is here. She's been writing a lot about the United States' posturing around the vaccine and patents and big pharma. Do we support dropping the patents and allowing the rest of the world access to the vaccine that we're now getting our third dose of? Yes, in theory. Kind of, not really, actually. We're owned by Pfizer. So I want to talk to her about that and what the future is and what we can be demanding of the Biden administration and others. Also, comedian Mateen Stewart is going to be here. Super excited to have him. Been trying to have him, but he had to have a baby and a family, and just the whole, life got in the way. So he's here. Baby had been born, so thank God. Currently asleep. Hopefully he's got the headphones in. And you guys are here. So thank you so much. If you are listening as a podcast, give this podcast 5 stars like always, or again, or, just like you can vote twice in the podcast world. Just think of it like, you're a Republican in Nevada or whatever. Also, if you're here on YouTube and Twitch, thank you so much. And make sure to like the stream, share it right now with your buddies on a beautiful Sunday evening. Those of us who are just got a little bit too much going on to like be into football. You know what I mean? Also, hey, follow the show. Subscribe to this show right now. What are you doing if you're not subscribed? There are some exciting announcements that I'm going to make now. Obviously, we still have the raffle going on. This is a raffle, a merch raffle, okay? What you do is the following. You go get a piece of merch, a Frantifa merch. You got 2 different shirts. You got tote bags. You got stickers. Send a picture of you in that merch. First, you got to get the merch. Bitchuationroom.com. Throw up the graphic. If you're listening as a podcast, the graphic's totally there. There it is. You go to that. And if you hashtag Frantifa swag, I'm giving you 3 books, baby. You remember books? They're like, trees that died for your sins. And you go there, I'm giving you 3 books, plus some stickers, plus a little something. I haven't decided yet. Once again, is it going to be like a piece of chitty poop with like a little bow on it? Is going to be a lock of her hair. I'm not sure. It'll just be a surprise. So do that. Raffling away 3 of my favorite books. Get your merch, get swagged out this Christmas or Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, by the way. And all the holidays. But do it right now. And the other thing that I wanted to say, which is very exciting, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, the Bitchuation Room is back doing a live show at SF SKETCHFEST on Sunday, January 9th at 7:00 at Piano Fight. All right? So, oh my God, get your tickets. I don't know if you guys remember or if you were around or if you listened to or were present at January 19th, 2020, before the gates of hell opened and swallowed us inside. But Jane MacLeod was our guest and she was amazing. This time around, we've got Alicia Garza, who's been a guest on this show before, but I want to get into more of her thoughts on, where the Black Lives Matter movement is going and has gone. Why the hell Democrats? I mean, we know why Democrats are ignoring the movement, but why are they allowing such a prominent and important social movement to be swept under the rug, right? And I think she's going to have a lot of thoughts on that, as well as, of course, the OG Nato Green is going to be there too. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, come out. Again, Sunday, January 9th. It's going to be super fun. It'll all be masked and vaxxed and all the good things or the bad things, or you know what I mean? The things that we have to fucking do because this is our fucking life right now. I see y'all in the chat. I appreciate you being here. We are going to get into all kinds of good stuff, but I wanted to remind you guys that every single episode of this show, we do 15 extra minutes. We have like a 10 to 15, sometimes even 20-minute bonus show. It's called the Bonus Bish. Today, we're breaking down, Mateen and I are breaking down the Crumblies. Remember the Crumblies? Yeah. The Crumblies are the parents of Ethan Crumbley, just our latest mass school shooter. Fun. And they decided to basically run from the law because they're being charged with involuntary manslaughter. Let's talk about it. That is a pretty unprecedented and interesting move by a prosecutor to do that to parents who were negligent, who gave their child a gun. Go and become a patron right now to get access to that bonus content, which follows this show immediately. And if you listen as a podcast, that's just your stream, baby. Your whole thing is like an hour and a half of goodness. The show ends, but then Mateen and I keep talking at the end, and it's brilliant, beautiful. We've had great conversations in the bonus episode. So make sure you are a patron. Again, $5, $10 a month, even $2 a month get you access to that. But of course, there are perks for all different tiers. So make sure to go there, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Oh my God. I feel like a used car salesman, but for my career. That's what it is. Do I have any other announcements? Do we have anything else to say? No. Let's get into it, guys. It's been 2 weeks. So much has happened. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Walter Schaub. That was really, really fun, and also happened during a week where Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all charges. So that was fun. And but so much has happened, so much to bitch about. So I want to know, what are y'all bitching about? Guys, this is What Are You Bitching About? So I went on a vacation recently. This is very quick. I'm going to make it real brief. I went to Costa Rica, which is a fucking beautiful, interesting country that uses 98% renewable energy and has abolished the military. So I think they're crushing it, and we should follow their lead. But I did a few like wildlife tours, like any good, gringo. And I took a tour of, there's all these different kinds of monkeys, there's like the like caramel face monkey. What do they call them? Call them like the white face monkeys, basically. But like the Friends monkey and the Outbreak monkey, that one. They got this other monkey whose name I forgot. I'm really good with monkeys. And then they got the howler monkey, and that's what I want to talk about. Howler monkeys and sloths, and all of these animals, swing in the trees. They hang out. I saw sloths in the wild. It was fucking adorable. Except here's the thing. Costa Rica produces a ton of pineapples for export, right? Something like 80% of pineapples in like the Western Hemisphere or something like this. Huge amount of pineapples. Dole, Chiquita, all import pineapples into the United States. And those pineapples largely, although it's changing, use pesticides, of course. And those pesticides are leaking into the river. Well, who drinks from the river? All the different kinds of monkeys that I don't know how to name. They drink from the river, and now the howler monkeys, which are black, are turning orange. This is real. So I saw like a baby monkey, adorable baby monkey, but it was orange. And apparently the mom was trying to shield it from the dad, who was trying to kill it for being different / contaminated. And they do that because they're like, we don't want to continue essentially they don't want like the genetic malformation to continue throughout the bloodline or whatever. It sounds kind of Nazi, but it's actually not. The point is don't eat pineapples from Costa Rica. I'm serious about this. Like, you can try and find organic pineapples. I know it's not easy, but you don't need pineapple, guys. You just don't. You don't need it. Don't buy a pineapple. Don't buy it for show. Try, and if you do buy a pineapple, don't buy it from Dole. At least not until they get their house in order, because they're turning the monkeys orange. Also, they're hurting the sloths and the baby sloths. And the baby sloths are being born with only one finger. Usually they have like 2 or 3. There's a 3-toed sloth and the 2-toed sloth. They're adorable. I made eye contact with a baby sloth. Yeah, no big deal. Anyway, they're being born deformed. It's all very sad and awful. Costa Rica is trying to change that, make more, limits on pesticide use. But all to say, I don't want a monkey having to kill its kid and like hunting it, and then the mom, and it just becomes an entire like drama of like howler monkey intra drama. It's like a political thriller in the monkey world. So let's avoid that and stop buying pineapple that uses pesticides. Does this make sense? Okay. That's all I have to say. That's all I learned on my vacation. It was great. And with that, someone who's going to enlighten me about their lives and what they're bitching about, you know him from True TV and Comedy Dynamics. Please welcome to the Bitchuation Room, Mr. Mateen Stewart.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? Thank you so much for doing the show, Mateen.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad I was able to do it.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you didn't try to tell your wife that you had to do a podcast while she was going into labor, and that would have been a whole. I mean, not that
would. I don't know. I don't know if that would have gone over too well. No.
But it would have been good, like a good story, like because you could have told it on stage and shit, and like there'd be a whole. Also, Mateen is wearing an amazing shirt.
Oh yeah, you can get these. Go to my Instagram.
It says the future is male birth control pills.
Yeah.
I
think it's about time. It's about time.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So you would take them?
I would. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I would take it. I think
now that you've had a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish we would have had it. Because we weren't really trying to have it proactively. The things that we did to have a kid, we did it, but we weren't really trying to have a kid at this time. But nature is a weird thing, and when those cells want to meet, they meet no matter what happens. So no matter what you try to do to prevent it.
Your daughter can always go back and listen to episode 115 of the Bitchuation Room to hear how her dad really feels about what went down.
I'm going to tell her the whole story. But it's a beautiful story.
When two cells want to meet, that's how you're going to give her like the talk, the birds and the bees talk. Look,
you can't control it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Unless you've got, and hopefully when she is of age where, she is bringing people over, there will be male birth control at that point.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah. I mean, we have to like expand the court / overthrow the government, but we'll get into that later. Mateen, what are you bitching about today?
I'm bitching about guns, gun safety, and everything that's been happening with guns and like people who like really, really love guns. And I just saw that family. It was like a senator. He posted his like Santa bring ammo. It's so disgusting. Because the people that represent guns are allowed to do that. Like if it was people that looked like me that was all over it, like it would be a different story. So
right.
I hate to see those Christmas cards with those guns, man, and like especially after a tragedy happened like last week. So, but we'll get into all that stuff.
We'll get into it in our bonus episode. But yes, you're referring to Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky saying, "Merry Christmas. P.S. Santa, please bring ammo," with his entire family holding an automatic rifle.
Yeah. And the thing about those guns is like there's a higher percent chance that they're going to kill each other than kill anybody that's coming into their house.
Yeah. No. How many do you need? Like what this is? First of all, number one, this photo looks photoshopped because it's so ridiculous. And the gun he personally is holding is so big. It's like a sniper rifle. This is every Zero Dark 30 Afghanistan movie fucking.
Yeah, it's just in his fucking cheesy grin and like, why is the couch so small?
Right?
Yeah,
exactly. Spend money on your couch. Yeah, that's very important. You use it every day. Although who knows what they're doing with guns every day. I mean, yeah, it's that's a good thing to bitch about. I mean, the insensitivity, especially It's
That's
like,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're
That's
beyond
it's
shame at
just
this point.
yeah. Like we still got them. You're not gonna take our guns from us. And no one, literally, no one has ever tried to take people's guns. And that's the biggest myth of anything that has been pushed by gun manufacturers and lobbyists to say, we want to take. No one, literally, no one has ever tried to take anyone's guns.
No. I wish they would. I'm going to be totally straight up with you.
Mm.
Like I know I'm supposed to say like no one's coming for your guns, but you know what I really want to say? Yeah, we're coming for your guns. Like we're just going to take them. Like you're a domestic abuser, we're going to take your fucking gun.
Yeah, there needs to be more. The parameters need to be adjusted. But most of the gun laws that we have in store today are to keep guns out of minorities and women's hands. So that's why all the gun laws are put into place. So
Right.
so like if a bunch of women just went out and bought guns, or a bunch of black people just went out to legally buy guns, like things would start changing.
Oh yeah, I mean that is not the full point of the Black Panthers, but one very strong pillar of their what undergirded their politics was like
Mm-hmm.
we're being killed anyway, so self-defense, this is it,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now of course then the entire state apparatus turned against them and
Yeah.
systematically murdered and undermined their cause, but that was like when this shit happens, you're like, no, yeah, more people should be armed just to almost prove that point. But of course, they risk being assassinated.
Yeah. And gun laws in California changed after, like you could when they went and got the Black Panthers from the Capitol, they changed the laws where you couldn't be in the Capitol with firearms. So
Right.
yeah.
Which is also like very head scratching during the, sort of the Michigan state Capitol,
Yeah.
bullshit around COVID restrictions and all the
Mm-hmm.
militias turning up. And you're like, wait, is this at all legal?
Mm-hmm.
Were there any ramifications out of that?
No, so in Michigan it's different. It was different. It's a different law, and like every state has their own different gun laws, and that's why I think it also needs to be regulated federally. That could
Yep.
also change a lot of things, because California, we do have a stricter policy than most states, like Wisconsin, Illinois. You pretty much can
Right.
go to Walmart and get a rifle.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to keep on talking about this because the Crumblies are just, again, a saga that I think
Mm-hmm.
we need to dig into. So that's in the bonus. Make sure you are subscribed as a patron to get access to that. We got to get into the week. A lot of things happen in these couple weeks. I'm just going over the last week. This was the week where the Supreme Court seems to be poised to overturn Roe v. Wade and allow Mississippi to ban abortions at 15 weeks, which is fairly generous, given that the bench consists of a rapist and Carrie's mom. About
Mm-hmm.
straight up. Workers at the Amazon warehouse in Bessemer, Alabama get a do-over as the U.S. Labor Board rules that the company illegally interfered in their union election. And given how much they hate election interference, we can all expect the GOP and right-wing media to speak out about this vote.
Mm-hmm. Losers. GOP is
Haters.
just a bunch of losers, man.
Indeed. And Bob Dole, speaking of the GOP, three-time Republican presidential hopeful and former senator, died today at the age of 98, which means he outlived his political party by about 5 years because,
Oh,
it died in 2016.
yeah. I
Yep.
didn't I didn't know he was still alive, to be honest.
I think in my mind, I like put him and George Bush Sr. in the same sort of like,
Mm-hmm.
they were both sort of like, I mean, yeah, weird, decrepit, wheelchair bound. It was just like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of like, I felt like he took him with him. So I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have to see all of the sort of montages about his
Mm-hmm.
life, I'm sure.
And all the old Saturday Night Live sketches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope so. Bob
Mm-hmm.
Dole, the master of speaking in third person before Donald
Mm-hmm.
Trump ever did that.
Ever did, yeah.
And finally, CNN officially terminates the contract of anchor Chris Cuomo, brother of Andrew Cuomo, and Italian-American role model whose shoes can only be filled by another Italian-American role model, me. Okay? I am Italian-American. I'm also Chinese. I don't have any politically connected family members, and I've never sexually harassed anyone at work who didn't then become my fiance. Okay, so that's
Mhm.
like, at least I commit when I start shit. All
Yeah,
right.
I got you.
For everything else, this is the week where. Okay, so this was the week where, in yet another memoir by a former Trump official whose book you won't buy at the Hudson News on your next flight, we learned that Trump tested positive for coronavirus 3 days before his debate with Joe Biden in September of 2020. And not only that, but unlike what the public and Biden's team were told, Trump didn't receive a negative test before that debate. He didn't test as per stipulations and regulations of that debate. We all know this because of a new book by Mark Meadows, which is Trump's fourth and final chief of staff, who repeatedly misled and lied to the public about COVID-19's transmission, but I guess now wants that public's support to buy his book.
He's trying to sell books.
It's not clear, though, if Meadows thinks what he is reporting on is actually bad, like what he recounted is bad. So let's get there with this story. But he did test positive. Trump did test positive 3 days before this debate, right? And according to Mark Meadows, who is devoutly Christian, and I'll show you to what extent he is Christian, Trump's reaction when he found out that he was positive for COVID-19 on December 26th was, and this is Trump's reply, the devout Christian writes, rhymed with, "Oh, spit, you've got to be trucking litting me."
Come on, bro. There's not that much Christian in the world, bro. Come on.
Trucking litting me?
Who does that? Like, to me, that's worse than cursing. Like, if you go through, it rhymes with, like that is, and that's so hack. Like that's like the hackiest premise of all premises.
Trucking litting? It should be like cucking fitting, right?
Or why can he say trucking kidding? Like, kidding is not a.
Or just effing. Just say effing.
Yeah.
What's the coolest way to say the F word that's not the F word? It's definitely not bleep.
Freaking.
Oh,
frickin' or frickin'.
Frickin'.
Oh, what the frick? What the frick?
Frickin' gives me like sort of like a white boat dad, Christian, vibes, like boomer vibe, but like frick.
Or front door. What the front door? Like,
I say effing. Effing is the only way. Like effing. Plus, I like F's.
Yeah,
Francesca fuckface last name. No, okay. So that was the president's reaction. Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? Or cucking litting, or what is it? Trucking litting.
Oh shit, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh shit, are you?
Are you trucking litting me?
Yeah. Oh spit.
Oh, spit, are you trucking litting me? And then what happened? Okay, did they go into, sort of emergency mode? No, actually. On Sunday, the 27th of September, the first day between the test and the debate, Meadows said Trump did little except play golf in Virginia and stage an event for military families at which he, quote, spoke of the value of sacrifice. So, sounds like he did a lot. What else? In his book, Meadows does not mention that Trump also held a press conference indoors in the White House briefing room. And then on Monday, September 28th, Trump staged an event in which he talked to business leaders and looked inside of a cab of a new truck. He also held a Rose Garden press conference, quote, on the work we had all been doing to combat COVID-19. So he was doing a lot of shit. So he tests positive on the 26th. In the 27th, he has this indoor press conference. Indoor reception for Gold Star families indoors with the positive test.
What's a Gold Star family?
That's like a very valiant family.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's like the vet, but valiant vet.
I got you.
Extra valor.
It's like,
I'm not sure if it's because you were killed or you killed more people, but it means something to some people sometimes.
All right, I got you. Because when I heard that I was like, wow, that's Gold Star family.
Does it mean like you've never, is it like Gold Star lesbian where like you've never had a family?
Yeah, that's what my first thought was. But like, or good Gold Stars when you, like, I was like, is Trump so juvenile that he just gives people like those old school Gold Stars? And
you're not Ivanka, but you're like a Gold Star family to me. Okay. So he had an event about COVID testing indoors, and then an indoor debate prep. This is like, it's like a very hungry caterpillar, but like, all the people that Trump coughed on. Like, that's what happened on these days. These 3 days before the debate with a 77-year-old Joe Biden. Once again, they said they were going to be testing, but no, actually, Trump didn't get tested before that debate. Instead, the host, Chris Wallace of Fox News, later admitted Trump was not tested before the debate because he arrived late. And organizers, Wallace said, relied on the honor
system. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just,
like, yeah, it's just crazy because for me, I feel like he's able to do those things. And that's where like some privilege comes in, where like Barack Obama had to be perfect.
Right.
And he wasn't, but he had to be. Like, if Barack Obama had the resume of Donald Trump, he wouldn't be president of the United States. And Trump is allowed to make all kinds of mistakes and do all kinds of things. Like, they should have just been like, no, but they allowed him to do that.
Yeah. No, I've long thought, and history may prove me wrong, but I've long thought that like the Trump administration is like the Ring in Lord of the Ring of like white male, like rich privilege. It's like all the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy is in his one presidency, and you have to destroy it and like, drop it in the lava, and then it'll, you know what I mean? The spell is broken or something.
I mean, because most of the times they try to act like that's not the thing, where he linked into it. So if you look at like presidents the last 5 or 6 months, you look at Ronald Reagan was the worst to me. Like, he did more to destroy the Black community than people that own slaves. Just with like bringing crack and like using drugs to fund whatever he wanted to do.
Death squads in Central America.
Yeah. And it's not even new. And like, I think it's just the accessibility to the president and like how we knew him prior, with like the reality and like people related to him, even though most of the people that supported him, he hates those people.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me, how they support him.
100%. He actually blamed him getting COVID. This is Trump blamed getting COVID on all of his fans. Like, they cough everywhere. They coughed on me. He even blamed the Gold Star families. Again, military families whose children died. Or like, oh no, it was the lazy vets families who got me sick. No. So he continues to do this debate. He's been tested. Now, Mark Meadows, in his defense in all this, and he's trying to play it both ways. Let's see how. Is no. He's not trying to reveal anything about the president or burn the president. In fact, because they continued to take other tests that showed he was negative, that he's saying, no, we did everything right. This is just a little tidbit. I'm not using this to sell books with, libs who watch CNN. Like, that's, no, of course you are, buddy. But no, he's saying he's not. So let me show you a little clip from him. This is from Newsmax. Him swearing that, just like Trump, who said that this story is fake news, that it is fake news.
Mark Meadows, the author of The Chief's Chief, joins us now to talk more about that. You've been a popular guy in the last week or so. Mark, it's good to see you. I want to start off with the COVID story. The media is going nuts with the story. I believe the president says it's fake news. What is the story here?
Well, the president's right. It's fake news. If you actually read the book, the context of it, that story outlined a false positive. Literally, he had a test, had 2 other tests after that showed that he didn't have COVID during the debate, and yet, the way that the media wants to spin it is certainly to be as negative about Donald Trump as they possibly can, while giving Joe Biden a pass.
Sure. Yeah. No, you want to make book sales. That is a juicy nugget. And let me just explain what Mark Meadows actually did after he got that positive test. So Trump was like, we're basically ignoring this. So Meadows says Trump took that call as a, quote, full permission to press on as if nothing happened. I believe this was his negative test after he tested positive. His chief of staff, meaning Meadows himself, however, instructed everyone in his immediate circle to treat him as if he was positive throughout a Pennsylvania trip. Quote, I didn't want to take unnecessary risks, Meadows writes, but I also didn't want to alarm the public if there was nothing to worry about, which according to the new, much more accurate test, there was not. Okay, so he's saying, no, it was fine. But even though I did all the protocols and I totally treated him as if he was sick. No, yeah, exactly. You behaved as if he was sick because he tested positive.
Because he was sick.
Because he was sick. Now let's talk about those other tests. What were those tests? So they ran the same test. Hang on. They ran the same test that they took that gave him that positive through a different system. They didn't do a new swab, same swab through what was called the Binax Now test. And there were specific reasons to be wary of Trump's negative result. Trump and Meadows were in a hurry on a flight to Pennsylvania, and the Binax Now instruction sheet warned that, quote, false negative results can occur if the test results are read before 15 minutes. An article in Nature published in September 16, 2020 had cautioned that because such speedy antigen tests need robust virus samples, quote, to produce a positive result, the test might give a false negative result. So a CDC would later find that Binax Now test failed to detect COVID infections in nearly 2 of every 3 asymptomatic carriers.
That part.
Your test didn't work. Your test didn't work. You fucking showed up, flaunted all the regulations. I mean, like, we all knew, right? Because days later, when he announced that he was sick, later that day he went to the hospital. Like, in what case did COVID ramp up that fast? It doesn't ramp up that fast.
Yeah, and then that was another thing where, like, he was just talking about, like, I'll beat it. I took this. But as soon as he got it and was sick, he went. They like flew him in a helicopter to Walter Reed, and he got the best treatments because he is the president of the United States.
Exactly.
You know.
Yes, and the Gold Star families are, yes, a family member of a fallen service member who died while serving in a time of conflict. Totally safe to blame them for getting you sick. No, very, very cool. But there's going to be no ramifications. And the last thing I want to say on this is not from me, but is from the current president. So what does Joe Biden have to say? He's, after all, the person who was put at risk for getting COVID, in addition to Chris Wallace. But Chris Wallace is mostly made of wax and Harvard. And so what did Biden say in response to this news that he potentially was exposed to the virus through the president at this debate? Let's look.
Trump tested positive for COVID 3 days before your first debate. Do you think the former president put you at risk?
I don't think about the former president.
Mr.
Thank
President,
Slowly do the walk away.
Yeah, he's clueless, man. Jesus, I hate that, like, Trump was so bad that we had to pick Joe Biden. That is the comedy of errors right there. Because I tell people, like, picking the president, like, no other job in your life. Like, if you had an 80-year-old server, you'd be like, oh, why aren't they retired? But you're gonna, and I know it's ageism, but, like, as you get older, you start to lose certain things, and I don't know, an 80-year-old person.
No, it is interesting, though. We've all sort of seen the two sides of, yes, an octogenarian, a septuagenarian, let's be real. The racist angry, i.e. Trump, or the sort of like, like out to lunch, but sweet, Gramps, wants to smell your hair, etc. And, like, we all know which one we would choose,
who
obviously.
Has a very racist past as well.
Who's made lots of excuses for busing and, things like this. But like, we all know who we would choose, but that's exactly where we have been in this last year's up against a wall, having to decide, how we want to die.
It's like telling somebody, like, all right, you can shit your pants or you can have diarrhea in your pants.
Oh yeah, I want something solid in my pants.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Funnily enough, I think both of those men probably wear Depends.
Exactly, it depends.
Show us the undies
on the day.
Look, okay. Here's my thing, and we got to move on. everyone thinks about Trump every single fucking day because he was a train wreck neo-fascist who nearly ruined our country and led an insurrection against it on January 6th. Every goddamn day we think about it. At some point, you're like, you have like that moment, the heart seizure, and you're like, wake up in the middle of the night. Like, at least I do, maybe less now, but, and you're not thinking about him. You're not thinking about this fucking mess. You don't realize that you owe your presidency to the fact that the guy before you was so fucking bad. You're not going to try. Like, that scares me that you're not thinking about him. And then not only that, you don't have a comeback. You can't hit back at that. Someone hands you on a platter, a political, like a way to score some good political points, not just for bullshit, but for real good political points. And you can say nothing
because he doesn't have that ability to be, to impromptu some things, because everything has to be so well calculated for him. So I'm pretty sure they said if they ask you about Trump, just leave. Just say you're not going to talk about it.
Yeah. As slowly as you possibly can.
And then
turn away, Joe. No, but and that's the thing is, like, if they're putting a leash on him, I'm mad. Like, if his handlers are putting a leash on Biden, fuck that. Let him go. Let him be mad. I'll be the cranky. We need cranky is better than complacent. We have to move on. We're so late because another thing happened this week. Also, this was the week where Representative Lauren Boebert stole the Cray crown back from congressional trash queen Marjorie Greene.
Oh, yeah.
Video emerged of Boebert doing bad edgelord open mic material. And in it, she says that she was in an elevator with Representative Ilhan Omar, but that she wasn't worried because Omar didn't have a backpack on, insinuating that Omar was a terrorist. And that was so funny. Oh my God. And she's there and she's in her little heels and she's obviously, you guys, a backpack implies that she's carrying a book, right? Just like, that she's studying and she's reading, and like that's obviously what scares the right. No, yeah, of course, a bomb. And it's just so funny, right? Because it's coming from a woman who literally gave tours to Capitol rioters days before January 6th, who met multiple times. All the rioters are like, they're singing like canaries. They're telling everything and what happened. Oh yeah, we met with Representative Boebert's people. Oh yeah, we were totally in communication with them. And yet she's calling Ilhan Omar a terrorist. Obviously, it's stupid. It was a bad joke. It was a racist joke. And yet, it has ramifications. So this is Ilhan Omar explaining that she's received a lot of hateful messages, more than usual. And here she is reading one of those messages that happened in the wake of Lauren Boebert's comments.
For those of you who did not hear it very well, let me read you what the voicemail says. We see you, sand N-word bitch. We know what you are up to. You are all about taking over our country. Don't worry. There is plenty that would love the opportunity to take you off the face of this effing earth. Come get it. But you are effing Muslim piece of shit. You are jihadist. We know what you are. You are effing traitor, and you will not live any longer. Condemning this should not be a partisan issue. This is about our basic humanity and fundamental rights of religious freedom enshrined in our Constitution.
So that was her response to all this, which is like, having some poise and yet making herself incredibly vulnerable. She plays the voicemail of a dude just being like, you're not gonna live for much. I would bet. And then he starts going off. This is my favorite part of that stupid ass voicemail. He's like, there's gonna be a military tribunal. Motherfucker, you don't even know what a military tribunal is. You have no idea what you're talking about. You read it on some QAnon blog.
Yep.
Yeah, stop with this military tribunal shit. Now, of course, the big thing is like Ilhan Omar We're talking about a representative, a woman who's been accused herself of doing things like anti-Semitic remarks because she's criticized Israel and said something like, it's all about the Benjamins. Now, what happened? Nancy Pelosi calls a hearing. Oh my God, everything's anti-Semitism. We got to do a special commission because she said all about the Benjamins and it's the money and and you're like, whoa, what? Meanwhile, what is the leader of the House or the minority leader of the House, Kevin McCarthy, doing about this? Nothing. He called no fucking commission. He didn't talk. He didn't ask Lauren Boebert to apologize publicly or anything. In fact, he's saying that she already did apologize. And what has happened is actually no apology. So Boebert has called Ilhan Omar's office. Apparently that call didn't go well. And she doubled down on what she was saying. But Boebert basically doubled down on like, I'm not going to publicly apologize after Ilhan Omar asked for an apology. And it seems like Omar hung up on Boebert, which fucking good for her. Here's what Kevin McCarthy is saying, and this is an interview with Ilhan Omar and Jake Tapper on CNN.
Uh-huh.
So Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has still not publicly condemned Boebert's comments. On Friday, he was asked, why not? Take a listen to what he said.
She apologized publicly. She apologized personally. She wanted to meet personally. Denied the ability to meet personally. When she picked up the phone and she called Congresswoman Omar, she said, I want to personally apologize to you. And that's what she did.
Now, to be clear, after her conversation with you, Boebert went on social media and doubled down and said things that were equally incendiary. What's your reaction to McCarthy and how he described it?
Yeah, McCarthy is a liar and a coward. He doesn't have the ability to condemn the kind of bigoted Islamophobia and anti-Muslim rhetoric that are being trafficked by a member of
Why doesn't he have the ability to do that?
Because this is who they are. And we have to be able to stand up to them and we have to push them to reckon with the fact that their party right now is normalizing anti-Muslim bigotry.
100%. Mateen, I see you're looking. I think he's looking off at his kid, maybe. Damn, I feel like I need a little baby after I hear. Yes, like Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy needs to get his punch. You need to get a punch in the face. And here's the thing with America and like with people like Boebert, like she's able to do that because people that look like her, there's no consequences. There's no consequences for their actions. They have no accountability. So they just do what they want to do and just say what they want to say and be like, oh well, I didn't know. And other people that look like Omar, we aren't given that opportunity to fuck up. Because once we do, it's like, oh no, you're the worst kind of person. We don't get second chances. And that's the thing. There's no accountability because then Boebert wants to play the victim like, well, it was just a joke. I didn't know. And that is the worst kind of person because she knew exactly what she was doing. That was racist. It was like you can't talk about any religion, but you could talk about Muslim people, and that's in America because certain Muslim groups hate America and they did certain things. Like all it takes is one time for somebody to do something, and then like every Muslim person is the worst kind of person. Right. And my name is Muslim. Mateen is a Muslim name, and I have no religious association, but I've traveled to the world, and anytime I met a Muslim person and they see my name, they treat me like a brother. They treat me like family. I haven't had that happen with any other religious group, but if they like, oh yeah, they treat me like family. And it's just such a disgrace to Muslim people that they're automatically associated with terrorism just because a few Muslims did some things. That's it.
No, I think that's a really good point. Just like the amount of leeway that we automatically give and the political system assigns. If you're white, if you're Christian, it's way greater than anybody else. And Ilhan Omar can make a random ass comment talking about, like I was saying before, like the Israeli lobby says it's all about the Benjamins, and suddenly she's, you know, she's on the ropes. And her own party is throwing her under the bus. Meanwhile, Boebert can make a totally like a joke that she knows exactly, obviously, what it means. Like, there's no, how do you come back from that? How do you like, oh, I'm sorry. Was that offensive?
Yeah.
Oh God, weird how you guys are all like sensitive about that. How I said, you know, because of your religion, you automatically have a bomb. Oh my, just like, it's amazing that you can just pull that. Of course, she's not going to accept an apology, and it sounds like the apology was really shitty. Because look, I think Ilhan Omar wants to make an example out of Boebert in a good way. Meaning, if Boebert was coming in good faith, she had a statement written. If she was using this as an opportunity to actually talk about like anti-Muslim hate, I think Ilhan Omar would take that opportunity. I don't think she is stubborn and would be against that. But fucking that's not what this is. Because Boebert keeps on running her mouth. She keeps on tweeting about it. She keeps on doubling down because, like Ilhan Omar said, that's the base. The base likes this. But I totally agree with you. The last thing I'm going to say is, what a beautiful example to have a Muslim congresswoman, 2 Muslim congresspeople say, look, I swore in on the Quran. Why? Because in this country, we have religious freedom. Like, if you believe in religious freedom, you fucking better defend my religion.
Exactly.
Or don't. Oh, it's just religious freedom for Chick-fil-A to, you know, keep on supporting homophobic causes. Okay. Like, so it's anyway. All power to Ilhan Omar, sending her a lot of love. This shit is gonna keep going, and honestly, like, I hope that there is more security and support for someone like Representative Ilhan Omar, because I don't imagine that like anything's possible. I feel like I am afraid for her.
Anything's possible. These fools fucking stormed the fucking Capitol and be like, it's our freedom. No, that's fucking treason. They should have, like, I get so worked up about that
Yes.
I don't try to think about it but I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised.
No, never.
I'm never surprised.
All right, we got to move on because we have to get to our wonderful guest, who is a dear friend, and just super happy that she could join us. She is a writer and a web editor at In These Times, whose work has also been featured at The American Prospect, Jacobin, and The Intercept. Please welcome Sarah Lazare.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, so thank you for being here so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I could speak. Sarah, you're a wonderful writer, thinker, former activist. You have been writing a lot recently about like this concept of vaccine apartheid. Do you want to just explain for folks who maybe don't know what that means? I think we all kind of know what that means, but when people hear that, what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the most important questions of our time. So vaccine apartheid refers to the incredibly unequal global distribution of who gets vaccines and who doesn't. So in the entire continent of Africa, roughly 10% of people on average have had the vaccine. That compares with 64% of North America. This is not accidental. This is not some inevitable force of nature. This is the result of global systems that were in large part set up to protect the profits of pharmaceutical companies and set up by those companies. So in October 2020, South Africa and India brought forward a proposal to the World Trade Organization, arguing that we should temporarily suspend patent rules to enable access to cheaper generic versions of vaccines. That's a very modest proposal. I think that there's a good case for, given how horrible companies have been, to expropriate them, you know, take them over, redistribute what they have forcibly. But this was just calling for a temporary suspension of patent rules that were actually set up in the WTO in the mid-90s, with Pfizer playing a huge role in lobbying for the protection of patents.
And they asked for that they asked for that in March of this year. So
they asked for that in October 2020 was when the proposal was first put forward.
Oh, so, okay. So even earlier than the vaccine rollout started.
Yeah. So they saw what was coming and rightfully predicted that the vaccine would be very unequally distributed. Also, South Africa and India have huge pharmaceutical sectors and have the domestic ability to produce mRNA vaccines, the kinds of vaccine that Pfizer is putting out, for example. So that proposal was put forward in October 2020. It had the support of more than 100 countries, or it now has the support of more than 100 countries, major human rights organizations. It's a total no-brainer. And yet it has stalled out. There is no progress, or very little progress, rather. The European Union is playing probably the biggest role in blocking it. Also the United Kingdom. And then the Biden administration is doing something really sneaky, where it is saying that it supports a patent waiver of some kind, but it's being very unspecific and vague and not clarifying whether it supports the specific patent waiver put forward by India and South Africa. And if it doesn't support that waiver, then what is it requesting? What changes does it want? All this is very unclear. In effect, what that is doing is blocking progress, when in fact the Biden administration, if it really believes in a patent waiver, should support the proposal as is. It's the only proposal on the table that actually calls for a suspension of patent rules. And it should also be forcing the EU, for example, to stop blocking progress.
Okay, well, yeah, let's talk about Biden in a second. You said a lot there, but so I want to understand, in this entire time since the vaccine rollout, Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, there's not been movement. There has not been any access to those patents, those mRNA patents. I know J&J is not mRNA, but in this entire year, there's not been movement.
Yeah, so you're right. There has been no movement in suspending patent rules under the TRIPS agreement. So the TRIPS agreement is the WTO agreement that basically protects pharmaceutical monopolies with some limited exceptions. And so in May of this year, the Biden administration made a big announcement saying that it was going to reverse the Trump administration's policy of blocking that proposal. And it was a big announcement. It grabbed headlines. The headlines, were to the tune of Biden supports the patent waiver. And a lot of activists who work really hard on that issue and hadn't seen a lot of progress were very hopeful and very excited. And they said that was progress. But in actuality, there's been a really big gulf between what the Biden administration has been saying on the political level and then what it's actually been doing behind closed doors at the TRIPS Council meetings, most of which are closed off to journalists and closed off to the public. But when there are reports from anonymous trade diplomats, and I recently got my hands on just a write-up of the proceedings from Geneva trade diplomats. And if you look at the actual write-up, at the most recent one, after the Omicron variant was already scaring people around the world, and after the Biden administration recently, on I think November 26th, got headlines for saying that he was going to double down on supporting patent waivers, at the very next TRIPS Council meeting after that, all the Biden administration did was refer back to the previous comments that it had made publicly. And that's not how progress at the WTO actually works. The way, the US is very powerful at the WTO, and if it wants something to happen, it can make it happen. And when you talk to activists who are working on this issue, people from Third World Network, people from groups like Public Citizens Access to Medicines Program, they will tell you that they're so incredibly frustrated and that they feel like the Biden administration is foot dragging and not genuinely going to bat for this issue. So I guess, to answer your question, there was some hope that there had been progress in May with the announcement, but it looks like the cheerleading that happened might have been a tad premature.
Insane. I mean, and I think the one thing I'm still getting my head around is that the WTO, the World Trade Organization, not the World Health Organization, here's my family coming in, that they're the ones who are making this call versus health organizers. Like, that it's more an issue of trade than it is about health. The World Health Organization's been asking for patent waivers to be dropped, or for patent waivers, since the beginning of the vaccine development. And yet when it comes to a global pandemic, we're looking at the money side 100% on this.
Yeah. How much money do we really need? Like, how much money Do you people are so greedy.
You got to pay rent in hell? What the fuck, man?
You can't take it with you.
Exactly. And so right. So that's where we go to the World Trade Organization. So you're basically saying Biden's like, yeah, we want in theory to waive the patents. Anyway, we said that a few months ago. Doopy doo. It'll happen. Maybe. I don't care.
Right.
Like, so it's
Right.
just, it's all talk, and they're not actually putting pressure on anybody. Can you talk about why that is and what the arrangement has been between some of these big pharma companies and not just Biden, but the former administration as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I look at sort of why this is and why this global system exists, one of the things that I always think about was the global justice movement of the late 90s and early 2000s. The people who shut down the World Trade Organization in Seattle in 1999, and how prescient that movement was, because, we talk about patents and intellectual property as though they're so-called like just the natural state of things and natural order. Things like piracy are bad. We just know that they're bad. But in reality, before the TRIPS agreement in the late 90s, there wasn't one set agreed upon rule of what intellectual property rules even are. And the creation of the world order as it currently exists is relatively recent. And what the TRIPS agreement essentially did was press the entire world to conform to the U.S. understanding of what intellectual property rules are. And, it wasn't some like organic, happy, harmonious process. It was largely the product of pharmaceutical companies whose profits depend on protecting intellectual properties, doing incredible lobbying, not just in the U.S., but also across Europe, also in places like Japan. And so that's just the baseline. The baseline is this idea that pharmaceutical monopolies matter more than people's lives. That has wreaked havoc.
And they're writing international trade law. They've been writing international trade laws, and it's like this is why we can't have nice things and or access to affordable medicine.
Yeah, because of greed. It's all greed.
And think about what was happening in the mid 90s when the TRIPS Council, the TRIPS agreement was established. That was like during a really bad stretch of the global AIDS pandemic, HIV/AIDS pandemic, and so I think a lot of people who are paying attention to how those intellectual property rules affected access to HIV and AIDS medications and treatments were really concerned that something similar and horrible would play out when it came to the pandemic. And, the pharmaceutical industry is very powerful. It has huge lobbying arms. It's a huge funder of both Democrats and Republicans. The pharmaceutical industry doesn't hide its lobbying. It's very forthright. Like, you can look at the press releases put out by, like trade organizations that represent Pfizer, and companies like that. And they're just very explicit. They say things like, we need to protect intellectual property. So one of their biggest arguments actually has been a TRIPS waiver won't even matter anyways, because the global South doesn't have the ability to produce mRNA vaccines. So it's totally
fun.
And that is a very racist argument. It's basically saying like, oh, no. You're not sophisticated enough. Just rely on your former colonizers. We've got this covered. You don't have the ability to do it. However, that's actually totally false. There are plenty of places, Indonesia, South Africa, India, Thailand, Argentina. There are plenty of global South countries that have facilities that could start producing mRNA vaccines right now. There was a big New York Times investigation about that recently. And so, the industry is both doing this outright spin and then is also creating a climate of fear and intimidation. There are a lot of Latin American countries like Colombia, for example, where there's a ton of fear that if they move too quickly or too strongly to support the TRIPS waiver at the WTO or to support compulsory licensing domestically, or even just ask for more transparency, they're afraid that companies will actually withhold supply. There's a lot of fear around
withhold
that.
supply, like if that they're afraid that if they overturn the TRIPS waiver, that then pharma companies will be like, okay, well, I guess, we just ran out. Oh, would love to help.
Well, because the pharmaceutical companies have all the power, and there are countries that are desperate, and people are dying, and global distribution is really unequal. There was actually an incident in Colombia relatively recently where an anti-corruption lawyer, this guy Camilo Enciso, he published some of the Colombia's contracts with pharmaceutical companies. Just publish a contract, that's it. And there was like a government meltdown, and there were all of these officials, high up officials, all the way to the president, who said that they were concerned that just that act of, quote, unauthorized disclosure of a contract might lead to horrible ramifications, the implication being that supply might be withheld. And, it's not, even if that's not actually going to happen, just the idea that that level of intimidation exists shows the extent to which pharmaceutical companies have the upper hand. And these are companies who, by definition, by law, are only accountable to their shareholders. They're not allowed legally to be accountable to anyone else. Yet they have the lives of people all over the world in their hands.
I mean, it is interesting and important to, there's part of me that's like, yeah, of course, Biden, he's probably got, pharma executives, and former pharma executives in his cabinet, which I think he might. I can't remember all of them, but it is so easy to rely on, like, the WTO and the TRIPS clause or whatever. Guess we can't. We should, but we can't. And it sort of provides this cover for keeping pharma happy and making sure you can still fundraise off of them. As we know, there's like what's the ratio of like pharma lobbyists to Congress people? It's like 30-1 or something floating around DC or something disgusting like that.
I don't know the exact number, but it's pretty bad.
It's something silly. But so I wanted to show, because Sarah, you're mentioning how many other countries can produce vaccines. This is from, very big lefty New York Times reporting. And they basically did an independent investigation into different pharmaceutical manufacturing capabilities around the world. And exactly all the countries that you're mentioning: Indonesia, Argentina, Brazil, South Africa, India, and naming the exact companies that could produce mRNA vaccines. If only there was a patent lift. And okay, so let's talk about the Omicron. Have we Omicron? The variant. And what do you understand, or is there any link between the number of variants, the new variants, and a lack of vaccine access? This might be a very obvious yes or no, but what should we understand about that?
So at the TRIPS Council meeting that happened last week, delegates, I think it was the South African delegate who basically said, we told you this was going to happen. We told you that if the entire world isn't vaccinated, the virus is going to spread uncontrolled. And we know that when it replicates uncontrolled, this leads to new variants. And we told you this was going to happen. And they have been warning about it for a long time, well before this new variant. It was one of the major justifications for why we need it in the first place. Because, the US and a lot of Western wealthy nations, they have this idea that we can just protect our own population and to hell with everyone else. That should be condemned on its own terms, because it's wildly racist and dehumanizing and horrific. And also, it's just not even true. This really is an example of how we are all interconnected. And, a lot of activists who work on this issue say that no one is safe until everyone's safe. And that really is true.
Yes, 100%. I don't know. And Mateen, maybe you feel free to jump in. I know you've got your adorable gurgling child in the background.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's so cute. But we're in a moment where Biden is encouraging people to get their third shot, right? And the booster, and I guess the efficacy fades. And this is where my little anti-big pharma tentacle goes, like, is it true? Are you lying to us? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, do I really need a third shot? And I'm super pro-vaccine. I wish that for the fucking money this government has invested in it, that we could actually run a little bit more of the show instead of being run roughshod over by these companies. But yeah, maybe a little bit on that. Like what political, let me ask you about the politics later, but first, do you feel like it's a little, how do you feel a certain way about this booster at a time when people haven't been even accessed their first shot yet?
There's a lot of resentment and concern that the priority isn't first getting full vaccinations to people in the global south, given the tremendous disparities. That has been a concern expressed by bodies like the World Health Organization. It's not a very fringe or marginal position to have. And it just really shows the incredible disparities and inequality. It's just pretty tremendous. You know, there are places where the vast majority of people haven't been vaccinated. And if, you know, you could just look at a map of that overlaid with histories of colonialism and pillaging, and it's like
pillaging and it's just a different, it's this medium that's changing. It's the same thing that's been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's what pisses me off the most about people in America who have access to the vaccine, who can get this vaccine safely, and who makes a choice not to do it and grandstand where it can save lives. And I had a friend that was stuck in Vietnam, and there's people in Vietnam who would kill to be able to get the vaccine. There's people in South Africa that would kill to get the vaccine. And here we are. We can go to a kiosk in a drugstore and get it, and there's still people in this country that's like, my freedom. We're so selfish. We're so selfish because it's always my, and not what we can do. And big pharma, like, there shouldn't be patents when it comes to something that is globally affecting everyone.
Yep.
You should be able to just give it out to everybody. Like, how much money do you need? Seriously.
And the travel bans are so fucking stupid and racist and like as is, like just on the face of it. But even if you agreed with some of the travel bans, they don't ban American citizens returning from travel, meaning they're just like, no. It's which makes no sense. Anyone can transmit the virus. The same thing with the China travel ban. You know, it was like Trump was like, oh yeah, I'm doing such a great job banning travel from China. Motherfucker, citizens could still come back to and from. You weren't banning anything. You weren't helping or saving anyone.
It was just people from those countries.
You were being extra racist about it. You were being extra xenophobic about it for no actual benefit to anyone. Anyway, we're long gone beyond that. So,
yeah, you know, the U.S., the European Union, they're much better at building fortresses than they are at just embracing policies that are rooted in concepts of radical equality. You know, the idea that everyone's equal regardless of where they happen to have been born.
And not even that, but I was curious as to your thoughts on, you know, politically, some of the ways that like China and Russia, who have rolled out not as good of a vaccine, but their own version, Sinopharm or Sinoflex, I forgot what it's called, and the Sputnik vaccine, and they're rolling it out, you know, some in great measure, like a lot of them, some sort of a symbolic thing, but to a lot of countries in the global south, and offering up those patents. And it's very much a way to exert some amount of soft power politically. The United States does not see that, though. The United, you know, like we don't.
There's no
benefit.
China, especially in Africa.
The pharmaceutical industry and some lawmakers have this totally bananas line, which is one of the reasons that we can't support the sharing of vaccine recipes is that it's a trade secret and it'll give China an edge, and we can't have that happen. Which is such a really ugly intersection of sort of U.S. militarism and belligerence, and just protecting pharmaceutical monopolies. And it's something that unfortunately has a lot of momentum politically in Washington at a time when there's pretty bipartisan support for greater confrontational stance towards China. And so, you know, so there's that stance, and then there's a lot of law enforcement concerns about so-called piracy, and, you know, China, Russia, even Iran, like might try to steal information related to vaccine research. And it's like, I don't know, actually, I would love it if anyone and everyone could steal that information and make it.
If you
and make
can hack
something
that
better.
shit, please.
It sounds like a great
hack
movie,
it.
man.
It sounds like a great movie.
Yeah, trying to get the vaccine recipe, like the KFC recipe.
Totally.
If you
And,
can steal these codes, steal them. I mean, they're treating them with, like they're nuclear codes or they're nuclear warheads.
They're saving people's lives, and we don't care. We don't care about anybody else but ourselves.
Yeah, and because of that mentality, we don't even have the best possible vaccine. Like, imagine if researchers from Moderna and Pfizer were sitting together comparing notes and being like, oh, hey, what if we combine this good attribute of our vaccine with this good attribute of yours, so that it's like maximally easy to store and ship, and this, that, and the other, like it even prevents us from reaching the pinnacle of what humanity could accomplish. And these vaccines are produced with public money, depending on the company, from the US, from Germany. It's just totally bananas. It's just such a profound injustice.
It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins.
That's anti-Semitic. No, yeah, and like it's very funny though, because hardcore capitalists will be like, well, it's all about competition. I mean, competition is what gets you the best product possible. Bullshit. Look at this right slapped in front of us. Look at the way that capitalism is fucking up saving the world right now. Because it isn't about competition. It isn't about holding out. Oh, yeah. Well, if you don't want to die, you'll just choose the best vaccine. It's simple. It's a power of choice under capitalism. Fuck you. Look at how it's all fallen apart. I'm sorry. I'm very mad. And yeah, keep going.
Oh, well, it's totally outrageous. And that line, so a lot of pharmaceutical companies and a lot of industry trade groups have used this line that's like, well, hey, if you take away our intellectual property protections now, we won't invest the way that we did for this vaccine to create the next innovation. And when you just really think that through, that's just such a nasty threat. That's using all of humanity or holding all of humanity hostage. But it's not just about the pharmaceutical industry either. I mean, there are a lot of wealthy individuals and a lot of companies in this country whose current and future profits depend on intellectual property protections. Countries like Apple kind of is a country, but what I meant to say is companies like Apple, that where their entire profit model is based on intellectual property protection. So it's really far bigger than the pharmaceutical industry too.
Totally. Last question before we move on to our final segment quickly. What could we be doing differently? I mean, I briefly said, look, for the amount of public investment in the vaccine and its rollout, shouldn't we be getting more bang for our buck, so to speak? Shouldn't we be able to make some demands on these companies? What could we be doing?
So there's so much we can be doing. The really depressing thing about the conversation with the TRIPS waiver is that the TRIPS waiver should be the bare minimum. I mean, that's just like the political equivalent of removing your boot from someone's neck. Ideally, it would go so much further, right? Like ideally, there would be global wealth redistribution for the purposes of getting the vaccine to as many people as possible. Wealth redistribution, resource redistribution. The United States and other wealthy countries have made huge promises on, not huge. They've made promises on vaccine donations that they have not delivered on. There should be some combination of those donations should happen, but also global South countries should be given what they need so that they can produce vaccines themselves. This requires vaccine recipes. It requires technical know-how. It requires resources. It feels like the last thing companies want to do is to just give global South countries the ability to do it themselves. Every framework is so patronizing, it's so colonial in its mindset. And so we just need a whole lot, and the TRIPS waiver should be the bare minimum. And that's why it's so upsetting that there's been no progress even on
and you
that,
think
or
that if the
very
United
little
States, if we could if we could stand up or be one of the first countries to stand up to big pharma, we could potentially be a leader in that and put some international pressure on the companies.
Yeah, so because the U.S. is so powerful at the WTO, there's a lot that it could do to be pushing countries like the United Kingdom, pushing the EU. You know, Germany is sort of the de facto leader of the EU, and it's one of the biggest obstacles to a TRIPS waiver. When Angela Merkel visited the United States a few months ago, her visit was met with mass protests and with people calling on the Biden administration saying like, hey, you should really talk to Angela Merkel about the fact that she's blocking the TRIPS waiver proposal. And so,
Right.
you know, there's a ton, the Biden administration could just be talking about this in good faith. It could be supporting the proposal as is. The Biden administration, according to everything we know, isn't actually supporting the current proposal. It just supports a patent waiver of some kind theoretically, but it's not even being clear about what exactly that is. So we need specificity. We need, at bare minimum, the Biden administration to be clear about what it's fighting for if it says it's going to be fighting for a patent waiver.
Totally. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for breaking that down. Everybody, please read Sarah's work at In These Times. She's done just some incredible reporting, and also does incredible reporting on U.S. militarism, and has done that for so long. So I know you're going to be back on talking about something else. But I love the way you just are able to make it like radical and visionary, and that's why you're my friend.
Aww.
And you're wonderful. But we have one more segment. So can you say, Sarah, quickly?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool.
And thank you so much. It's great to talk to you, and yeah,
so good. You always do incredible work, and like are so clear.
Thank you.
Yay. All right, we have one final segment. We're going long because it's been too long. Obviously, in honor of, I haven't been doing a lot of interstitials, but in honor of Spotify and Spotify Wrapped, which is where they basically give you all your metadata back to you in a non-creepy way, and you're like, oh my god, this is cool. I did listen to that podcast on my birthday. How do you know that? Yeah. We're going to do, if America listened to Spotify, what would America's Wrapped on Spotify look like? This is America Wrapped. All right. America Wrapped, guys. What do you think? Number one song, top genre, top artist. How many minutes did we spend listening to what? Mateen, thoughts?
I don't know. For me, like Beck's Loser just comes up because we've just been, it's all about losers and being a loser and like losers rioting, and just over and over again. And I don't know, so many, how many minutes? 525,600 minutes. That's how long we have listened to that song as a collective.
That's just getting Rent stuck in my head.
I'm sorry about that, but that's every day. Yeah.
All right, Loser. I like that. I feel like we've done less losing this year. Maybe we haven't. We've lost more American lives this year than last year. Sad reality. Even with the vaccine. God damn it, Delta. Fuck you. And fuck you, Trump. Let's see. Number one song. Here's what I'm gonna say. Okay, not Loser, but America, This Is You. Like the song for America's Funniest Home Videos. This Is You, you know?
Yeah.
All the funny things you do, America. Yeah, like that is to me just the song of the year, because it's like, oh, this is you. This is you just screaming maskless at a minimum wage worker. Oh, this is you, like flying a Trump flag and running into protesters. Like, this is you just stabbing a Capitol Police officer with an American flag. Like, that's, and it's funny, and it's always like, and we're very much in a like, you know, a Karen and Kevin's like whip out the phone and film each other. So I feel like America's Funniest Home Videos, we just now live in a giant America's Funniest Home Videos. That's the song. Sarah, any thoughts for song? Best song? Number one song?
Yeah, so I agree with the very bleak picture that both of you are painting, and also was trying to think of what made 2021 different from 2020. because 2020 was also very bleak. And one of the things I kept thinking about was how there were a lot of strikes, labor strikes in October. Some people call it Striketober. So I looked it up. There are around 43,000 minutes in a month. So I'm going to say that there were 43,000 minutes when America was listening to Valerie June's Working Women's Blues, or pretty much any labor song sung by Pete Seeger. Which Side Are You On? Solidarity Forever. I'm going to go with that for Striketober.
I love it. Oh, that gives me some hope.
The Kellogg's workers, the John Deere workers, 60,000 Hollywood workers threatening to strike and authorizing a strike. It's really powerful during pretty bleak times.
So true. We need more Pete Seeger. We need like the trap version of Pete. Maybe we don't need the trap version of Pete Seeger, but we need like the modern labor songs. I love that. All right. Okay. I don't know how far you guys can go with this, with me on this, but okay. I've got genre, artist, and some minutes. But genre for me, top genre, America's Wrapped, is elevator music. Like it's because we've just been waiting to get like anything done, and we've been waiting for this year to, be over. This year's been super fast, but it's also just like, all right, Biden, like gong gong. It's like a xylophone version of Autumn Leaves, like burr, burr, gong gong. I'm like, what's the xylophone? Boom, 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 boom. It's very dim. You kind of want it to like turn off. You can't really concentrate. That to me is like the genre of music of this year. It's just like, when are we gonna do some shit?
I'd say rap country, because that's the worst genre of music. And yeah, it's just shitty, man. It's just been like,
even when Lil Nas X came out with a new album.
But he's not even a country artist. That was a country song, and it was shitty. Like, that's just like, rap country is the worst genre of music. So
I don't think I've heard enough of it. Is it
exactly?
Yeah, I haven't. I just know Lil Nas X's Old Town Road, and I was like, well, doesn't that fix America with that song?
But I mean, like Cowboy Troy, like
Cowboy Troy. That just, I don't even know. I have to listen to it just to listen to it.
He's a black cowboy that raps. It is the worst shit ever.
That's amazing. All right, I'm reading some of these. I'm looking at a lot of yours. Bossa Nova. Bossa Nova is also just very elevator music to me. Sarah, any genres you think were Wrapped?
I think I can't top the ones that you gave. That thinking of the songs is as far as I got. I think it's a hard year to wrap my head around.
Yeah, I want someone to, first of all, obviously we know our top podcast was Joe Rogan. I wish it was the Bitchuation Room, y'all. I hope it was your number one podcast. But to be fair, it was just everyone listening to Rogan going like, it's not that bad. I had COVID and I got all the baby tissue and I'm fine. I don't know what he sounds like, but does he have a high voice? I don't ever listen, but I feel like it's more
very
like that.
Like monotone. It's like, like kind of like that.
Okay. And I do think we spent 525,600 minutes listening to like American exceptionalism ASMR. Like we just like a lot of like, just we'll be fine. Everything's good. You're amazing. You've got the vaccine. Back to normal. Like red, white, and blue, baby. The funny things you do. Like that was like our whole year. We were just like, even some of us who I think are more, on the left and liberals, and we're like, it's been such a horrible moment that we kind of just keep wanting to move forward and be done with both the COVID and also Trump. But we're still in the thick of it. We're still in this shit.
It's not over.
It is not over. But our show is over. And it is over. And Sarah Lazare, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find your work on the internets and on Twitter?
Well, I am an editor and writer for In These Times. We're at InTheseTimes.com. I met Sarah Lazare on Twitter, and I've been writing for the American Prospect lately and some other outlets as well.
Awesome. Love you and your writing. Okay, I can't say I love you to everybody, but I do. Thank you so much for joining me. Take very good care and please come back soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, y'all.
All right. And Mateen Stewart.
Yes.
Where can people find you and your work?
You can find me anywhere at Mateen Stewart. I'm the only Mateen Stewart in the world. Please check me out on Instagram. And if you do have the time, check out jamiemwhitfield.org. It's a charity, the Jamie Whitfield Scholarship that I started after we lost my mom in 2020. And yeah, we raised money to give $10,000 a year to a Black woman that attends a historical Black college or university.
Oh my God, I love that. That is such a beautiful way to honor your mom.
Yes.
JamieWhitfield.org.
Jamie M. Whitfield. JAYMEM Whitfield.org.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I hope you can join me. I know we've run late, but for the bonus episode, if you don't hear Mateen Stewart in the bonus, it's because he's got a child. But hopefully he can join me to talk about
She's asleep right now.
Oh,
so
yes.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, let's squeeze in 10 more minutes. Mateen, sit tight. See you very soon. Thanks for joining me. And thank you to all of y'all for being here, for listening, for joining me in the aftermath of my time away. I'm taking Mateen out. A couple of comments you guys wrote in. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of your thoughts, you guys, even if I don't read them all. Trump knew and exposed others' attempted murder. That was on Trump lying about his COVID test. On Lauren Boebert, Xena the Egyptian Dragon on YouTube. It sucks how Muslims are treated in America. I tell my parents not to go outside on 9/11 anymore because people have yelled slurs at them before. It has happened pretty much every year. Fuck that. And yet, very real. Thank you for sharing that. Gary Cooper on YouTube. Yes, Boebert is a bad Sarah Palin impression, but so is Sarah Palin. It's true. It feels like it's like Sarah Palin was actually like, I feel like she owned it. Whereas like Boebert is kind of she's sort of a shaking, trembling Sarah Palin. Like Sarah Palin was legit dumb. Boebert is just like play acting a little. Like I don't think she's smart, but there's a little too much play acting. On vaccines and vaccine apartheid, Hef on YouTube, did the WHO consult Joe Rogan? I know, right? Because Rogan got better, so like, he's good. I really do wish that Rogan created a donation fund. If you don't want the vaccine, donate yours to a country in the global south, to a person in the global south. Go. Like, dude, if you don't want the vaccine that much, then fucking give it away. Send a shipment. Help someone, fly someone into the States. Get them the vaccine. Sirloins 1014 on YouTube, banning travel to and from countries that identify new variants is just going to dissuade countries from announcing the discovery of new variants. You're not wrong. And thank you to everyone who, sent in a super chat. And of course, much to the dismay of a very small minority of people who listen to this podcast, we got to do the fart song and thank all of the people who've become patrons at $10 or more who get a shout out and all these big tippers. Here you go. Thank you so much, James. You're wonderful. New patron at $10 or more, getting that bonus content. Really appreciate you doing that. I believe it was when I asked for Wednesdays. Wednesdays were Patreon Wednesdays. Tip Giving Tuesdays, Patreon Wednesdays, etc. Big tippers, Joseph L. You're so wonderful, Joseph. Can you email me at bitchuation@gmail.com? Because I want to give you merch because you give $10 every single week, and that's so damn generous. To the Twitch subs, thank you so much for resubscribing, JYPZ Rocks and Daisy Dragon and Ghost of Toller. And to all the new subs, Willie Gus, Dana Manning, Depressed Progressive, Peace Bow Pond, Little Mac McGee, Neurodivergent Wooly, Daniel McConkey, Pagan Communist Hippie, Hippie Spot, and Hippie Spot. Ellie is currently writing there. And thank you to Edward Coate for your super chat, you guys. We're here every Sunday, 5/8 Eastern. Thanks to Maximillien Inhoff. Thanks to Alexandra Ornes. And thanks to, of course, producer Ellie Hoffman. We'll be back here with Gareth Reynolds from The Dollop. If you guys listen to The Dollop podcast, he's wonderful. He's joining me next week on Sunday. Don't miss it. And remember, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye.